friend, like not a close friend, but maybe someone you went to like middle school with or high school with, and you're friends with them on Facebook, and they're always talking about how in love they are. Anyone have a friend who's like, oh, my boo, no, my boo, and they're like vacationing, and they're swimming on that island where people swim with the pigs? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Anyone have a friend like that? And then they get divorced?
We were not together, so this is a long time ago.
Oh, the good old days.
This man never thought to question my age. I also never willingly volunteered the information.
And then they get divorced?
I have a friend like that. Her name's Rachel Hollis. She's always like,
oh my god, I love Dave so much. Dave is the best. Dave is a Disney executive. I love Dave. Oh my god, I love Dave. Dave is such a nice guy. Dave doesn't believe that women have a place in the workforce. Everyone at Disney at the top of the company doesn't believe that women have a place in the workforce. I love Dave. He's the absolute best. Dave used to emotionally abuse and gaslight me for the first year of our relationship, so I decided to have sex with him against my religious beliefs to keep him with me. I love Dave.
His friends would ignore me, or worse, refer to me only as the 19-year-old. And he wouldn't say anything to stop them. I made excuses.
Oh, the good old days.
In the case of Rachel Hollis, her husband
Dave!
he was 27. She was 19 and he was 27.
Dave was dating Rachel at 19.
Yeah, he was 27. He was our age when he started dating Rachel, who was 19.
Right, that's weird,
It's
right?
incredibly weird.
The problem with that is we are so busy pretending that we're swimming laps that nobody knows we're drowning. They're always talking about how in love they are. Oh, my boo, no, my boo. Anyone have a friend like that? And then they get divorced, 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 and then they get divorced.
What's up, my fellow small business supporters? I'm Savvy. Welcome back to my channel. Today, we've got a business guru style video for you guys. Before we get into it, I want to give a disclaimer. Everything I talk about in this video is my own opinion. Everything I talk about in this video is fair use. Everything I mention in this video, other than like what I'm directly reading from online and showing screenshots and sources of, everything I speculate on is my own opinion. This is not a video that is journalism. This is a video that is me talking about some of the issues that I think happen when people try to monetize their lives and their relationships. Kind of similar to my video essay about how Rachel Hollis used to be an indie author. This is somewhat of a cautionary tale for my fellow small business owners and just my fellow creators and influencers out there. Now, if you're watching this and you are a fan of Rachel Hollis, this is not a video that I'm making solely to bash on her, but I will be bashing on her a little bit, don't worry. But I just want people to know that this video is not existing to be a drama video or anything like that. I imagine that she and Dave are going through a difficult time right now with their divorce, so this video is not here for me to be like, look, someone else is going through a terrible time and is experiencing something horrible, let's just make it worse. But at the same time, I want to make something very clear. If your brand and your life is what you make money off of, if your relationship is monetized, if you charge people for marriage advice, if you set yourself up as an ideal to aspire to and make money off of selling that dream to other people, when it goes south, when it inevitably fails, for me to criticize you and criticize your relationship is not spilling the tea. It's basically giving a product review. You made your marriage your product. You made your personality and your life what you sold yourself on. Therefore, you can ask for privacy all you want when you're going through a time like this, but that doesn't mean I have to give it to you. The fact that they sold books, they sold courses, they sold getaways, they sold conferences, they had an entire brand based around this that provided their income and took money from vulnerable fans who were looking for something better, which we will get get into. We will get into how fans have reacted to this, especially those who have spent money on them. That fact means that I do not feel morally obligated to respect their privacy. So I hope everyone understands that and respects that, but if you don't, I don't know what to tell you. So let's do some background information on what exactly happened here. For those of you guys who I guess are new to my channel or who are new to the whole business guru, anti-MLM, multi-level marketing type of world, there is a woman here who's very famous for all of this. Her name is Rachel Hollis. I have done 10 other videos about her. This is my 11th video on Rachel Hollis, which is wild to me. Because I started out YouTube as a book review channel, so I did a review of Girl Wash Your Face and how I hated it.
Hi, I'm Savvy, and today we're going to be reviewing the book Girl
Wash your ass, you got to wash your ass, you got to wash.
And then as I got more into making videos about my life as a small business owner and about the ethics of being a business owner and the ethics of selling people the concept of entrepreneurship, selling the dream, selling the shovel and the gold rush, as I started to make videos on that, Rachel Hollis became more and more relevant to my message and more of a cautionary tale for what not to do if you want to be an entrepreneurial, creative person. I highly recommend that you check out some of the other videos I did on her if you want a more comprehensive background, but I will give something brief really quick right here. Rachel Hollis is the New York Times bestselling author of Girl Wash Your Face and Girl Stop Apologizing, two self-help books targeted at ambitious entrepreneurial women. For those reasons, I read those books. I found them incredibly disappointing. I found them incredibly condescending. I found that they gave advice that was false in some cases, so just, go ahead and take a look at my reviews of those if you need more information on that. But those were the books that kind of launched her to fame. Before writing Girl Wash Your Face and Girl Stop Apologizing, Rachel Hollis was a party planner in Los Angeles who ran the company Chic Events, which planned parties and events for famous people, rich people, that kind of thing. At age 21, she married Dave Hollis, who was the head of global distribution for Disney. A lot of people speculate that that marriage was what really helped launch her career because he's the one who knew people at Disney who could hook her up with those high-profile clients. I'm not here to speculate on that, but their relationship and her career taking off was definitely, those things were definitely tied together. Over the course of their marriage, Rachel and Dave set themselves up to be the perfect model couple. In her article, Girl Wash Your Face is a massive bestseller with a dark message, author Laura Turner discusses how Rachel is the epitome of something called curated imperfection. The idea that you can show your flaws, you can show your faults, you can show yourself to be imperfect, but the faults that you choose to show are very carefully selected to be on brand for yourself. If you show yourself as too perfect, if you show yourself as an unattainable ideal, your audience will not relate to you. Your audience will not see you as a friend. They will just see you as a celebrity, and then you are vulnerable to the punch-ups that a celebrity gets from the general public. But if you show yourself to be relatable, if you show yourself to be an everyday person that has the same flaws as the rest of us do, it creates this bond as if Rachel isn't a celebrity with millions of dollars and millions of fans and tons of influence that the rest of us don't have. Instead, it makes it look like she could be our friend, like she's one of us, like as her audience, we're her community, and if she fails and if we criticize her while she's failing, then we are at fault because she is our friend, not a celebrity. I think that curated imperfection and what Rachel's doing is a manipulation tactic. And then when you use your fans' money and don't deliver them the product that they wanted and, flip the script on them and pull the wool out from their eyes, when you do that, you deserve criticism. And by building up a shield as I'm not a famous person, I'm your friend, I'm just like you, that is meant to be a protection against that. That's how I see it. Throughout Rachel Hollis's book, Girl Wash Your Face, and throughout her book, Girl Stop Apologizing, she spent a lot of chapters discussing her marriage with Dave Hollis, what their relationship was like, but it also went beyond that. Rachel is the founder of the Rise Women's Conference, which is a weekend of professional development and personal development conferences for women to attend. I actually did a full review of the documentary Made for More, which is kind of an overview of what the Rise Conference is like, so I'll link that up in the card. cards. But through these conferences and through putting herself up on stage, pretending to be the female version of Tony Robbins, Rachel positioned herself as a motivational speaker, as a guru, as a person who had the answers that you were seeking. Specifically in terms of your business, your relationships, your self-confidence. When I did a review of Hollis's Quibi show, I talked about how Rachel often toes the line of practicing therapy without a license. And I don't mean that in a legal sense. I'm not accusing her of the crime of practicing therapy without a license. I'm saying that the way it comes off, the type of advice she's giving, shows that she's not necessarily qualified to be giving that type of advice. A key example I pointed out when I reviewed her show on Quibi was that in one episode she talked about how she overcame her struggle with drinking, how she overcame her reliance on alcohol to get her through emotional times, and then in a separate episode talked about how she marks bottles of champagne as hers to drink once she reaches a goal. So she rewards herself with alcohol, but also talks about how she recovered from alcoholism. That doesn't compute, and I think it's dangerous advice to be giving her viewers. Now we're seeing something similar with marriage. Rachel could be considered to be practicing marriage counseling without a license. And not just Rachel, but Dave as well. On Monday, June 8th, 2020, Rachel and Dave both announced their upcoming divorce. Alright, so here is the picture that Rachel posted of herself and Dave on Instagram. So Rachel says, "Guys, I have some hard news to share, and the honest truth is I have no idea how someone announces something like this, so I'm just going to say it. Dave and I have made the incredibly difficult decision to end our marriage. We started out as best friends 18 years ago, and the truth is that core friendship and the parts of us that work so well have become a band-aid for the parts of us that don't. We have worked endlessly over the last 3 years to make this work and have come to the conclusion that it is healthier and more respectful for us to choose this as the end of our journey as a married couple. We remain dear friends as we raise our family as co-parents and run our company as partners. We are choosing joy, even though, I'll be honest, the last month has been one of the most awful of our lives. I want to be strong and bold and optimistic for you now, but every ounce of my energy is reserved in being those things for my children. That said, having been such an open book to this beloved community, we hope that you can allow us a human moment. We hope you can understand our need to process these changes away from social media. We graciously ask that you respect our privacy so we can focus on what matters most, our 4 kids, and the next chapter of what our family looks like now." If you're watching this on the premiere, type in the chat box. If you're watching this on a replay, type in the comments. Let me know what you thought of that announcement, because I'm about to break it down. I think this announcement is manipulative. From the get-go, that might sound like an insensitive and heartless thing to say, because it's like, I do feel for them going through this divorce. I do hope that everything is going to be okay for them, just on a human level. But in this announcement, there are so many things wrong to begin with. There are so many lies in here, and then there are so many hints of things that are telling of something much deeper, that hints that maybe this marriage was all for profit for a long time. Not since the beginning, but for a while at least. This hints that there may have been lies to their audience for a longer time than we realize. Let's start with, we started out as best friends 18 years ago. I don't believe that. 18 years ago, Rachel was 19, Dave was 27. I don't know about you, but I don't have any 19-year-old best friends. I find that odd. I don't think they started out as best friends 18 years ago, and based on her own account of what happened in her best-selling book, Girl Wash Your Face, based on her own recollection of this, they did not start out as best friends 18 years ago. They started out in a relationship with a power imbalance 18 years ago, where they went on dates together, and he treated her like a booty call, and he treated her like, just someone to fuck around with, and she was looking for a real relationship, and she ended up sacrificing a lot of her morals religiously to try to make it work. It honestly seemed like a grooming type of thing. So that did not come across as them starting off as best friends 18 years ago. They started off in a gross, unhealthy relationship 18 years ago. So right off the bat, I feel like she's trying to skew the narrative. The last sentence of this paragraph where she says, "I want to be strong and bold and optimistic for you now, but every ounce of that is reserved for being those things for my children." I have no problem with that. You do need to be prioritizing your kids right now. I agree. But then when we get over here to this last section, I have a few issues with this. First of all, she says, having been such an open book to this beloved community. Excuse me, Rachel, if you were being open with your audience, with your community, with your fans, if you were being open with everyone this entire time, then why did this seem to come out of nowhere? Why did nobody have any idea that this divorce was incoming? Why did this come as such a surprise to so many people? Why did you not show any of the struggles that your marriage was having? Why did you do podcast episodes where you talked about during the quarantine how your relationship has been stronger than ever? Why did you continue to sell tickets to Rise conferences that the two of you were putting on together? If you've truly been an open book to this community, why did you do all of that while your marriage was hurting? I don't understand. She says, we hope you can understand our need to process these changes away from social media. We graciously ask that you respect our privacy. I do want Rachel to focus on what matters most, which is her 4 kids. I agree that that's what matters most, but I don't think that your audience is under any obligation to respect your privacy. Your audience gave you money. You used other people's hard-earned money so that you could give them advice on how you made this perfect relationship work. And now it's failing. People have the right to be mad about that the same way you might leave a bad review for a book on Amazon or on Goodreads or something. People can leave a bad review for your marriage if they paid for your marriage. I hope that makes sense. The last part I want to draw attention to right here is over the last 3 years. That kind of set off alarm bells in my head because right now we're in the middle of 2020. What was 3 years ago? The middle of 2017. When did Girl Wash Your Face come out? 2018. Just in case y'all can't do math, 2018 is later than 2017. Rachel was not even in the public eye as a self-help guru yet while their marriage was already having problems. So the fact that she indicates it's been 3 years that they've been having problems and trying to make things better indicates that so much of what they were selling to people was a lie. That so much of this was a lie. 3 years ago, there was no Girl Wash Your Face. There was no Girl Stop Apologizing. I think they were already working on developing the Rise conference, but they weren't making bank on it like they are today. So the majority of the things that they've taken their fans' money for were while their marriage was already struggling. And then she has the audacity to say she's been an open book when nobody had heard anything about this. I think that that's disingenuous. If you're going to position yourself as I'm relatable, I'm open, you can connect to me, and then you're going to blindside people with this. Sure, in a regular relationship, nobody is entitled to know about the struggles. Nobody is entitled to know about the details of your relationship. But when you turn around and charge people money based on the details of your relationship and to learn your relationship secrets, then we have a different story. Then I am absolutely ethical to criticize you for this. The other thing that I want to call out right here is this line right here. We are choosing joy. Rachel has been known for wearing a t-shirt in a lot of her images that says choose joy on it. She sells choose joy merch. A lot of Rachel's critics have been critical of the whole choose joy mentality because a lot of people rightfully think it's a little dismissive of mental health issues. Rachel has claimed herself to be a mental health advocate in the past, being open about her experiences with anxiety, open about her journey going to a therapist and that kind of thing, which I am absolutely grateful to her for, and I think that it's good that she's been open about that. But then to have a message that says choose joy and to sell merch that says choose joy and to make money off of the message choose joy seems counterintuitive to being a mental health advocate, because it's basically saying you can choose how you feel, you can choose your emotions. It's completely dismissive of things like clinical depression, of major depressive disorder, things like that. And not every situation you can choose to feel joyful about. That's not really how the brain works. And again, it's another instance of Rachel brushing over what an actual therapist or psychiatrist or an actual licensed mental health professional would say and pushing her own unlicensed, uncredentialed message out there instead. Now, she's applying this message to her divorce. We are choosing joy. I think that's a harmful message. Blindsided your whole audience with this divorce, and now you're sliding in your monetized message of we're choosing joy. I think that's weird that you would kind of still position yourself above other people, like, we're going through this worst time in our life, but you know what? We're still choosing joy. We can still choose to be happy. Buy my Choose Joy merch, link in bio. That's kind of how it felt to me, which was, I thought was very manipulative. So overall, what I want to call attention to in this announcement is every single part of Rachel Hollis's marriage, from her story of acting like she overcame the obstacle of having an emotionally abusive man in her life, and the way that she overcame that obstacle was by fixing him, from that problematic narrative all the way to the narrative of how she's choosing joy during their divorce. Every aspect of Rachel and Dave's relationship has been built on toxic positivity. The other week on my channel, I did a video collaboration with Lillian Lalo, who is the host of a podcast called Toxic Positivity, and we talked about what that is, what it means when the positive vibes only mindset goes too far, when the idea of optimism actually ends up being more harmful than anything else. Rachel's entire brand is built on staying positive through everything. It's built on letting your flaws show a little bit, but only letting them show enough so that you still are relatable to your audience. Having your flaws be on-brand flaws. Now, she's taking this toxic positivity message and applying it to this. So the entire relationship, she claims that she was an open book, but the whole thing has been built on a series of toxic positivity, on her presenting an image to the world that is more optimistic and more positive and less realistic and less grounded in reality than what her average viewer was facing. So let's take a look at some of the types of marriage advice Rachel and Dave were known for giving people. Right now, we have headed over to Rachel and Dave's YouTube channel on their marriage and relationships playlist. So Rachel's whole playlist is still up for this, still monetized, all of that. So this video we're watching is called Improve Your Marriage with These 5 Tips. This video was from December 21st, 2017. If we're gonna go by Rachel's Instagram post and take what she was saying there as truth, her marriage would have already been struggling by then, because her marriage would have been struggling since at least the middle of 2017. So when these videos went up, she was already having difficulties within her marriage. Let's take a look.
All right, 5 tips to do immediately following this video. My first tip would be do your Enneagram.
Yeah, I'm a 3. You're a 8 or a 9?
9.
Okay, I'm sorry for laughing at that. I know that a lot of those personality tests mean a lot to people. I don't know if they're super valid. I don't know the validity of any of these things, but I know that in a lot of cases, like astrology and astrological signs and Enneagram tests and Myers-Briggs tests and those kind of things all kind of fall under the same umbrella of, I won't necessarily say pseudoscience, because I think there might be a little bit of things backing them up, and there's kind of a lot of history behind those things and that kind of thing. But I feel like basing your entire relationship on, I'm a personality type 3 and I'm a type 8, like, I feel like, why not just go to a legitimate marriage therapist and have them talk about the individual parts of your personality traits and that kind of thing, instead of relying on a test you can get on the internet. That's just my thought, but here we go.
And then read about how your different Enneagram numbers pair with each other, because that was crazy for us.
Yeah, no, do it. Have your spouse, your partner do it.
Yeah.
And then sit and actually have a conversation about what it means. And in any of these tests, it tells you how a 3 and a 9 interact.
Yeah.
You will understand all of your life so much better.
Yes.
Or just talk to a licensed therapist who went to school for this.
Seriously.
All right, number 2.
Make a date. Schedule one right now. And while you're at it, go ahead and schedule the next 3 after that.
Yep.
I don't think the idea of having a date night is terrible. I think it's a good idea. Tyler and I have a date night every Friday since we're in quarantine. What we do is we go pick up some fajitas and some chips and salsa at the restaurant down the block from us. We bring it home, we get a giant pitcher of margaritas, and we put on a weird B movie from the 80s, like maybe a weird horror movie or a weird action movie or weird sci-fi movie. We have a lot of fun with that. So that's what we do every week. Also, we don't have any kids though, so I know it's not the same thing, but I feel like, you know, watching this in retrospect, I don't think that date nights are a bad idea. I think they're a lot of fun, but acting like they have these tips, that's the secret to unlocking a marriage, and they're getting all these questions. They weren't presenting this right in the first place.
Number 3, commit to having great sex.
Yep.
It's thing that you choose.
Yep.
So the sex chapter in Girl Wash Your Face was very interesting, as a very sex positive person, as a person of the millennial generation, I guess as a feminist for many years, I guess that I felt that this chapter was weird, but I can imagine how in Girl Wash Your Face, the chapter about a sex life could be useful to someone from a more sex repressive background. In this chapter, she talks about the importance of prioritizing sex and you know, making time for it, and how she and Dave 1 month scheduled that they were going to have sex every single day for the month, and they did. They had sex every single day for that month, which good for you guys. But they also, Rachel seems to also have some weird opinions about sex, where like in one part of the book she's like, anything you do in your bedroom that is consensual between two consenting adults is fine, there's nothing wrong with it. And I was like, great, I agree, 100%, awesome. But then she'll like turn around and be like, but some things like pornography, obviously pornography doesn't count for this, because if you watch porn, that's exploitative to the people who are in the video. Like, it seems like Rachel isn't aware that like porn is an industry that does sometimes exploit people, and I'm not talking about those cases, but it's an industry that a lot of people voluntarily go into. A lot of people work as a porn actor because they like the money, because they're fine with doing the work. That's not exploitation, that's just somebody doing a job they wanted to do. So it's weird that she kind of has that kind of hang up or something. So her sex beliefs are a little bit weird. Let's see how she talks about sex here.
100%.
And if you are not someone who has that, it will have an impact on your relationship. That's all I think I want to say about that.
Read that chapter in Girl Wash Your Face. All the details are there. Number 4.
Yep.
Okay, not that many details were there. All they talked about was the fact that they have sex a lot. That's great. Good for you. Not every couple has the same sex drive. This is a thing that I talked about in my video where I criticized Tony Robbins. I will link that up in the cards, but I think there's this interesting business guru idea where they think that like sex is a magic cure for everything, which in Rachel and Dave's case, we know it didn't work. They fucked a ton of times for a lot of years, and even that could not save that sinking ship. So, I mean, I know couples who one person in the couple is asexual, but you know, they're with someone else because they have an emotional connection to that person. They have a romantic love for that person, but they are identified as asexual and don't like have much of a sex drive or don't have much a feeling of sexual attraction for another person. So in those cases, sometimes they will have sex infrequently. They and their partner will compromise to make something that individually works for them. So you don't need to be having a ton of great sex all the time. Two asexual people might be in a relationship together. Sometimes people have medical problems. Like, I've had times in my life where, you know, I couldn't have frequent sex for a lot of reasons, mainly because I've had health issues. So like, that's not the be all end all of everything. I feel like even if Tyler and I go like 2 or 3 months with no sex, like it's not a problem, because we have so many other important things that like we'll get back to that when we need to, but that's not the be all end all of a relationship. And you know, while it's important and while I think it's good advice to make sure you prioritize yourselves, especially if they're talking to people who have kids and people who might be prioritizing their relationship to their kids over their relationship to each other, I see what they're saying, but it wasn't enough to help you guys.
Number 4.
Hire a cleaning lady.
Ooh.
What the fuck? Okay.
Your privilege is showing, Rachel.
What? In what universe does everyone have the money to hire a cleaning lady?
And then number 5, put yourself back at the beginning of your relationship.
No! Rachel and Dave, do not put yourself back at the beginning of your relationship. Back where Dave's an abusive fuckboy and Rachel is a 19-year-old virgin, right? No, don't put yourself back there. Don't do it. Don't do it. Look at Rachel's face right here. Even she knows not to do it. Rachel is over here even like, So now we're going to watch this video called Rachel and Dave Give Marriage Tips, which even though they're wearing the same exact clothes, this is an entirely separate video. Here we go.
I haven't eaten or had coffee.
My
You
phone
can't
beat.
even shut off your volume?
I didn't know what happened.
I mean,
Look at that. See, that is curated imperfection right there. That's what I was talking about. The fact that they start off this video by including those little bloopers, like, oh, you didn't turn off your phone yet? What? Rachel being like, oh, I haven't eaten or had coffee yet. Like, just those moments that don't look like they're part of a scripted or perfected video. That's curated imperfection right there. That is them being like, look, we're so goofy and relatable because we included these little human moments. But, like, they edited this video. They chose to put that in. That is a choice. So just keep that in mind.
quality of our videos.
Sorry.
Hey guys, I'm Rachel.
I'm Dave.
We didn't set that up well. How long have we been married? 42 years?
13.
That's sad looking at now. They'll never be married for 42 years. Also, even though they're wearing the same thing as in the other video, this video was put out like 3 months after that one, but still, this one might have been like right around the release time of Girl Wash Your Face. Anyway, they were already struggling.
Years still.
13 years. But we've been together for 15 years.
15 years. Keeps getting better. Every
Yeah.
year's been better.
That's real.
That is real.
Dave still works at Disney, and I worked at Miramax, which was owned by Disney at the time. He came over for a meeting one day, and I went to get him from the lobby, and his back was to me, his hands were in his pockets, and he turned around. Do you even remember this moment?
No.
Yeah, okay, this love at first sight narrative is complete bullshit, and we know that. I know that Rachel's trying to play it off like it's goofy and cute and quirky, but in all honesty, if you read Girl Wash Your Face, you know this is, like, what she's saying sure is true that they met at work and whatever, but it wasn't love at first sight. It was probably attraction at first sight. It was probably, this was Rachel's first relationship, which I have nothing against people marrying their first relationship. I got married to the person I was in my first relationship with, so I understand that. Like, I went on my first date with Tyler when we were 14 years old, so I understand the first relationship being meaningful thing. But I don't believe that this was love at first sight, especially because Dave showed himself to be such a creepy, toxic fuckboy after that.
The key to our long marriage, joint property laws in the state of California.
I think we are deliberate. We're intentional. We do.
That's funny, because now they live in Texas. So she's like, joint property laws in the state of California? Now they live in Texas and their marriage isn't lasting anymore.
You take seriously the work that is required to make a marriage great. And
Absolutely.
Like we go on dates once a week, every week, even if we don't want to, if we don't like each other as much that week, even if we're tired or have traveled or whatever it might be, dating each other is important.
Yeah. It's better every year.
Oh, for sure.
Like, so much better every year, which is crazy because in the beginning you think, like, I can't possibly love you more than I love you right now.
There's no way she thought their relationship was great in the beginning. She even says the first year of their relationship was the worst year of her life. She talks about that in the book, about how she cried while writing the chapter about their first year because of how terrible it was. Again, this is all a front that they're putting on, and they're trying to build up this facade for their viewers, like, look how great our relationship is. So this is all what I mean when I say that Rachel and Dave's relationship was rooted in toxic positivity. The reason that they had so many fans was that they had this whole idea of like, look, we have curated imperfection within our marriage. Yes, it's hard. Yes, our marriage takes work. We have to schedule things. We have to find babysitters for the kids. We have to do all of these same difficult things to manage our marriage that you'd have to do. But look at how we overcame this struggle. They frame it that way, right? Because that's one of these things with curated imperfection and with toxic positivity, is framing every struggle in your life as an obstacle that you overcame rather than as a continuing struggle. So in their relationship, they talk about how they figured it out by scheduling a date night every Friday, and it's an ongoing task that they do and an ongoing thing that takes work. But beyond that, we see their tips and we see them talking about, oh, this was difficult, or maybe we didn't like each other that week or whatever. But we never see them being openly on camera like, oh wow, Dave and I are fighting, I fucking hate him. We never see that because they have chosen which moments of imperfection they want to show to construct the perfect narrative that their relationship will succeed through positive thinking and through scheduling things and through goal setting. And Rachel's entire brand, right? Positive thinking, goal setting, you know, all of that is on brand for her. So she is branding her relationship as overcoming those same struggles in those ways. It's all part of a branding similar message. And through that toxic positivity, we can see it doesn't work out in the end. By claiming that you don't criticize others, you are positioning yourself in a superior position to people who do criticize.
For others, judging is a bigger problem.
We're all on the same level.
Branding yourself?
Rachel is trying so hard to make herself #relatable.
If you want to set yourself up for success, you better be in your brand.
Because you are showing yourself to be the one that uplifts other people. Those who are critical are all just haters.
Taking to social media to write hateful things to people you don't even simply because they've stepped outside the lines of what you think is good.
Check out their marriage conference, which she calls a getaway weekend and costs $1,795 per couple for 2 days in September. Hotel not included, no refunds. I will give Rachel some credit where credit's due. Her and deserve credit for the fact that when they broke the news of their divorce, they didn't delete comments. As far as I could see, they didn't delete comments. They let their fans say what they truly felt. At the very least, that seems to be a slight breakaway from their previous toxic positivity marriage, where they would delete all negative comments from their Instagram or their YouTube or whatever. They would show their entire image to be positive vibes only. Now they let their fans kind of say their piece. So we're going to take a look at how some of the fans reacted to the news of their divorce and what this might mean. People who put every ounce of their marriage on social media, preaching weekly date nights, yearly marriage renewals, and being transparent, yet they weren't transparent. We are allowed to have an opinion. They did a podcast saying that divorce is not an option, but just stated they have talked about it for years. Sad, but seems a bit inauthentic to me. This literally proves you cannot believe the shit on social media. You never know what's happening behind closed doors. Yes, I listened to their podcast and bought their books, watched their morning show, and heard nothing in regard to this. I feel lied to and won't buy anything from them in the future because I don't believe in their brand anymore. So did you listen to the podcast they did on marriage where they said they never said the word divorce because they wouldn't entertain the ideal of one? Yeah, real authentic. Super torn with trusting any of your previous words in this moment. You were just celebrating your anniversary and joy with that is to come, yet you've been wrestling with this for a while. Shake my head. I agree. I hope they take down the Rise Together podcast. It would be sad to lead others who think they are working on their marriage down this sad and unfortunate path. 2020 has just been too much. If Rachel and Dave can't make it, maybe I should rethink our wedding. So I find this one really sad that there are like people who have built their relationship so much on this type of advice that now they're like questioning if they were even doing the right things in their relationship the whole time. But I like that this comment replied to that saying, if your relationship wasn't built on booty calls and ultimatums, then you are already on a stronger foundation than they ever were. Love it. This comment says, you have been wrestling with this for years, but you have been doing podcasts and blogs, seminars about how to have a successful relationship in marriage over the last few years. I feel conned. Too many unanswered questions. We can respect your privacy as anyone could, but when you make a career by promoting a successful marriage tips, it all just seems a sham. This person says, while I'm heartbroken for both your families, truly, please, please, please wait a little while before releasing the new book telling us all how to live our best mom and dad lives as a single or divorced parent. Love you both as public figures, but please, don't. So all of it was a sham. Every single episode of Rise Together, as well as Rise, the Rise Together Conference, the Stronger, Better, Everesting, every word in every chapter in all of your books, the Ireland vows, the Move Your Body So You Can Be Happier with All the Teamwork as a Couple, parents and business partners, that whole spiel about the ego-driving decisions and having the hard conversations, everything about how to be better people, about how happy life is, everything leading up to this point was a lie. This is much deeper than a shake my head moment. Just feels very disingenuous to market a perfect relationship and profit off of it. It's a business at the end of the day. The self-help relationship market is $1 billion business. I'm new here and I noticed they seem to just tolerate each other, but that she was 100% the CEO. Damage control mode, just like any business. The dissolution of any marriage is sad though. Good luck, peeps. So since a big part of why people are feeling deceived is the way that Rachel and Dave kind of promoted themselves as marriage and lifestyle gurus, as well as business gurus and business coaches, we're going to take a look at their Rise Together conference, which was a couples and marriage advice and marriage development conference that, once again, they profited from. So here on Rachel Hollis's Facebook page from June 21st of 2018, which, if we're going by the timeline that she outlined in her Instagram post, they were already having marital problems by this point. Again, they said the past 3 years. June of 2018, as of right now, would be 2 years ago. So they were already 33% into their marriage troubles that led themselves to divorce when they decided to have a couples marriage retreat weekend that they would charge people for marriage advice on how to make it work. So it says, did you hear Dave and I are throwing a couples weekend this September in our new hometown of Austin, Texas, and you should totally join us.
We're throwing a couples conference.
We're having a couples conference!
Yes, we are.
Rise together.
Rise
Stay
together.
with me. Rise
together.
Because you're rising
Rise
together.
Rise together.
Together. Ooh, brother and sister. Okay, can you set it on a normal thing? How are you feeling? What are you thinking? How's life?
I'm excited about to change your whole dang life.
Okay, so this is all like, right, that curated imperfection stuff. They're like, look, we're just talking off the cuff. We're doing little bloopers. We're just like, rise together. We're being goofy about it. But, you know, according to that one article that we talked about, Girl Wash Your Face is a massive bestseller with a dark message. According to that article, their marriage conference cost like over $1,700. And that was not including hotel or airfare or any of that. So this was expensive. This was not an easy conference to pay for or to go to. And so they're acting very nonchalant and lighthearted about this. But now we know what happened. So let's keep going and see more of how this went.
And here's why. Because you guys have asked for it. What you're thinking is, I didn't know that you guys were, like you were counselors or therapists, that you had special training in order to guide other couples. We don't. We don't have that ability.
At least they're honest about it, right? And here, that's what's funny, that apparently when they announced this conference, people were like, wait, you guys are marriage counselors? You guys have licensure to be guiding other people's marriages? Rachel's face right there says it all. They don't. They admitted right here, we have no credentials. We have no license to do this. But you guys thought our marriage looked so great on the social media that we carefully curated because we're professional social media influencers. So we decided to charge for our unaccredited, unlicensed knowledge on how to make a marriage work. Brilliant.
We decided years ago that we didn't want to have a good marriage. We didn't even want to have a great marriage. We wanted to have an exceptional marriage.
Has anyone ever been to the subreddit r/aged like milk? That comment did not age well at all. You want to have an exceptional marriage. And that's the thing. It's like, it's all this striving for some weird ideal. Like, I have a good marriage. I won't say I have an exceptional marriage because my marriage, while I'm very happy in my marriage, being married was not my end goal. It's not the most important thing to me. I have other things that are a part of my identity and who I am. And for me, marriage was not about reaching this ideal of, I want to have an exceptional marriage. I want my marriage to be the best marriage of all time. To me, marriage is not that complicated. It's about finding someone that you love, that you enjoy spending time with, that you prefer to spend time with above all other people, and getting to spend time with them all the time for the rest of your life. That's all it is to me. But I tend to oversimplify things, so that's totally understandable if you don't feel the same way about marriage.
There we are.
Date night.
Date night.
Date night. What do you want, an elevator?
Here's what we're going to talk about.
Sex.
Finances.
Hold on, let's start over. Here's what we're going to talk about.
Sex and finances. The two things every marriage needs are sex and finances and death and taxes.
Talk about sex. I thought we were doing that together.
Here's what we're going to talk about.
Sex. Finances. You do something. Children.
Communication.
Don't go too long, because he's going to cut this into pieces, and then we'll be on stage and we'll be talking to them.
You get to watch me be corrected for the entirety of this entire conference.
You explained for a really long time.
You said, let's just keep going.
Yeah, so they're doing this cute, like, oh, we're having cute couples banner, little fake argument here. We're going to talk about sex and finances. You know what? Finances. These two are rich as hell. And that's not me just saying that rich people don't have financial disagreements in a marriage. They absolutely still can and absolutely often still do. But I just feel like Rachel and Dave's understanding of finances versus the average person, who I imagine with a conference this expensive, for the people they're targeting, who are people who don't feel satisfied in their life and need to get something greater, I feel like attending this type of conference, right? Like when I talked about Tony Robbins and his conference and his documentary, I'm Not Your Guru, and all of that, there were people in there talking about, I sold all the furniture in my house. I gave up everything. I sold everything to be able to attend this conference because I knew it was that important. when Rachel and Dave, their understanding of finances, and, you know, again, I know that Rachel came from a low-income background, and I actually talked extensively about that in the video essay that I made about her, which it has been linked up in the cards. That's not me saying that she doesn't understand money. I'm sure she does, especially because she's a successful business owner, but I'm saying that the way that they handle finances in their married life is likely not the same as the way a lot of their audience and a lot of their followers would see finances and how that would happen.
We'll just talk.
One word
It'll be amazing. Say whatever comes into your mind, unless it's all of what you just said.
Unless it's novel. I just meant like bum bum da 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 da. It's at the gorgeous Line Hotel in Austin, right on the water.
Yep. You're gonna get into town. You're gonna have drinks.
Make out.
Buy a pool.
Make out. Friday night, you're gonna come in, and we're hosting a beautiful cocktail party so that you can get to know.
Rachel really has a weird obsession with making out. There's nothing wrong with making out. Like, I think a lot of adults do that, but it's very weird how she's like, we're gonna make out, you're gonna make out, we're all gonna put our mouths on each other's mouths. This is gonna be a giant orgy in the state of Texas.
So everybody that you're about to hang out with the next day, there'll be music, there'll be appetizers, wine will flow like the Nile, and then you're gonna go out to dinner or to your room or go to listen to music or whatever you want to do in Austin. Make out.
Yeah, make out.
And then you're going to wake up the next morning and you're going to come have your heart lit on fire, and we're going to talk about awesome things and hard things and beautiful things.
It's going to be full of highs and some harder stuff that you have to work through.
Harder stuff to work through. Didn't you just say a minute ago that you don't have any credential to be talking about this, that you have no license, that you have no accreditations, and you're like, we're gonna work through the difficult parts of your marriage with you. Well, 2 years later, here we are. You two aren't still together, and your fans are mad. They're mad!
But then we're gonna finish with a lot of encouragement, and then
dance party.
Then we
because every Hollis event has to have a dance party, you
It'll have a
guys.
theme, so stay tuned. It'll be amazing. Come on down.
Awesome.
She's not wrong on this. I am a dance party basic bitch, okay? I love dance parties. I love just getting in a crowd of people and dancing. I think every event should have a dance party too. I agree. So that's the conference that they presented as being able to help people develop exceptional marriages, despite the fact that even during that time, their marriage was not exceptional. They were still working through difficult things, which ultimately didn't work out from them. And that, friends, is the danger of practicing marriage counseling without a license. We always talk about practicing things without a license, right? How Gary Young, the founder of Young Living, liked to practice medicine without a license, and guess what? People died. How Tony Robbins, the self-help guru, loves to practice therapy without a license, and guess what? He's an asshole. Now we have Rachel and Dave being like, here, we're gonna give you marriage advice. We don't have counseling certifications, but who cares? That's not actually necessary. It's not like people go to school and make an entire career out of this. We can just do this without any real world experience. And guess what? They're getting divorced and their fans are mad because everyone feels scammed. So the fans are not having it. People are feeling scammed. People are feeling taken advantage of. Who knows what's going to happen to the company after this? Because as a business owner, I know how big of a deal it can be to lose trust from your target audience. There were already people like me out here, right? I'm not Rachel's target audience. I might seem like I am from originally being the kind of person who picked up Girl Wash Your Face, from being a woman in business, from all of that. It seems like I could be Rachel's target audience, but I'm a person who's very skeptical. I'm a person who has a cynical side. I'm a person who looks at a company that has a multi-level marketing structure and says, I'm staying far away from that. I'm avoiding that like the plague. So when it comes down to it, my beliefs and the way I approach information makes me not Rachel's target audience. But there are a ton of people who are her target audience, and when it comes down to it, your target audience is who you rely on to keep your business afloat. When I look at my business, Forever Home Friends, my target audience is parents, teachers, and dog people. If I did something that lost the credibility of all the dog people, if I somehow said something that indicated I wasn't in favor of animal adoption anymore or something like that, I would lose the trust of my target audience and my business would be screwed. So I think that's where Rachel and Dave are kind of in that flux right now. They're saying, we're gonna continue to be business partners, we're gonna continue to run this business together, but I'm not sure that's possible because their target audience, the core people who built them up, the core people who were funding their business and keeping it afloat, their customer base feels scammed and deceived now. Those people don't feel that they can trust Rachel and Dave's advice anymore. And now that they've lost the trust of their target customers, who is going to pay their company's bills?
How do you sort of get the courage or develop the skills to sell the thing that you have worked so hard to build?
And if you are a leader, what kind of leader do you want to be?
Now I'm doing press for this new book and everyone's like, oh my gosh.
The best salespeople are incredible at telling you a story.
When this divorce was announced, a lot of people asked why. Not just why did you get divorced, but why now? Why now divorced? Why are you choosing to announce it right now? A lot of us are aware that these people are opportunists, that they will seize any opportunity to turn something into a business opportunity or into a turn for revenue. We can see that in, and this is not a thing I'm going to go super deep into, but I do want to bring it up, the way that they monetized their family. In my video where I talked about Micah Stauffer, I brought up the fact that there are a ton of ethical concerns about making your children part of your brand, about having your kids front and center on camera, especially when kids are too young to consent to being in the spotlight that way. Rachel and Dave's kids have seemed very visibly uncomfortable on camera and have been like, hey, stop showing me on camera, or have said things that indicated they don't want to be here right now. However, the majority of Dave's Instagram page and YouTube page is his Tea Time with Noah series, which is where he and Noah, which is his and Rachel's daughter, she's 3 years old, they sit down and have a tea party every morning and discuss issues, and this is a fan favorite. Noah is a 3-year-old child. She didn't consent to wanting to be on TV. She doesn't have the capability to make that decision yet. So, and again, that leads into a whole discussion of the child actor industry, of the world of having children work before they can consent to wanting to work or before they're old enough to make that decision for themselves. But Rachel and Dave, being massive influencers with millions of followers, have taken that opportunity away from their kids to ever form their own identity. And now that they have a divorce that's impending, now that they have people following them to see what happens next in the divorce, the kids have a greater opportunity to continue to be caught in the crossfire. My hope is that they learn to stop monetizing their kids. So based on the fact alone that Rachel and Dave have been monetizing their kids and they've been treating their kids like characters in the online drama that is their family life, they've been treating their kids as inspirational figures, as inspirational content for other people when their kids are too young to consent to being used for that type of objective. Based on that, I think we can conclude that Rachel and Dave are opportunists, that they're people who seek out opportunities for themselves and for their own profits. And because of that, there have been a lot of theories going around about why they chose to divorce now. Now, after they've made all this money selling marriage advice to people, making a perfect conference, why did they choose to divorce and what's gonna happen? Obviously, I have not been in Rachel and Dave's minds or in their personal life. I do have one thing that I'm going to read that comes from someone who knows Rachel and Dave personally. I am not going to give away any identifying information of this person. I'm not going to link to any proof of this. So if you guys choose to believe this person doesn't really know them, that's your prerogative to believe that. For me, the credibility of their claims is less important than the need to protect that person's privacy. So when people reach out to me with these things in my DMs, I tell them that they're going to be anonymous. I'm not here to expose other people who are just regular people who aren't trying to be influencers. Anyway, let's take a look at a few people's theories of why this divorce happened. So one of the biggest theories out there, and I won't call this a conspiracy theory because this just appears to be fairly informed conjecture, there are a lot of people who think that the reason this isn't working out is that they got too big, that fame consumed them too much, that Rachel, and a lot of people have this theory that Rachel is too demanding of a boss, that Dave did not want to work as a subordinate to his wife in a company together, that he did not want to have her as his boss, and that she has been a controlling and terrible boss to work for. So that's one thing I've heard. Let's take a look at some comments about this. Someone says, Ray was getting too big. He left Disney to work for her company. His book did amazing. The live Rise weekends are probably on hold until next spring. They're in a tough spot. Also, he just hinted at other partnerships. If I misinterpreted something, I didn't see Dave hinting at other partnerships, but Dave being a philanderer is also another theory. Also, Dave's book doing amazing. So I haven't read Dave's book. I've considered reading it just to do a review on this channel, but honestly, it sounds so terrible and painful to get through that I didn't want to put myself through that after I had to put down and get rid of Grant Cardone's book. I was like, how many of these awful books can I put myself through just for reviews? Anyway, back to Rachel being a controlling boss. In my opinion, she always overtalked him, and during their live streams, it was like a tug of war. Sometimes I'd feel bad for him. I did too, and saying how will only offend, but I'm sure it's the same things you noticed. It's a smart decision, though. Sucks being in the public's eye during a time like these. Then this person takes it a step further, which I think might be a little bit too far. After following them for so long and listening to them interact with each other, I realized they're both alphas. Eventually one always gives, and if neither give, it ends like this. That's one sign. I noticed that too. Me too. Like, he was all about the family and she couldn't stand spending any time at home. Everything he did annoyed the living hell out of her, and she always needed to be the star and couldn't let his star shine bright. Plus, with the whole COVID shutdown and being locked up with her family, Dave, that was the pressure cooker. So I'm not really a believer in the idea that humans are alpha or beta or whatever. I think that's some weird pseudoscience. So the fact, like, they're both alpha, like, I don't think that really contributed. But in the sense that, like, maybe the two of them both want to fight for control means that one of them, like, they're both not able to do give and take. I could see that being a possibility. How do I square this with your post of 10 days ago and all the advice on marriage I've paid you and Rachel for? You invited us into your private life long ago and asked us to pay for access to your unique philosophies on making it work. I fear that without a more transparent explanation, there will be more collateral damage from this announcement than you anticipate. You sold us a lot of hope, including very, very recently. I'm sorry, but as someone who has followed since before you ever dreamed of moving to Austin, I feel like everything you ever stood for just imploded. Yes, your marriage is your personal life, but you lost all credibility in telling people to listen to your marriage podcast, or how you keep your sex life up, or how you work your schedule out pretending to be authentic when clearly your marriage was unraveling. I thought Rise was great, but you just 100% turned as phony as can be. Super unfortunate. I wish you well with your future. No doubt you'll figure it out together, but today I take your final advice and you follow because there's no room in my feed for phony. This person, feel like we were fed bullshit for the past few years just so we could buy your tickets and just so we could buy your books and tickets to Rise. And I think that's what a lot of this comes down to, right? There's the idea that, like, it had been a long time coming that they didn't like each other, that their marriage was suffering for all these years, and the fact is maybe now the reason they got a divorce is, one reason people have been suggesting, the quarantine. Because right now they can't sell tickets to events. Right now they can't be out there. There are a couple that relies on, like, traveling, business travel, doing events together, doing conferences together. They did one live conference, which I think, you know, they sold some tickets for, but I don't think was really that big of a deal to most people. Their conferences were where the big bucks were, and right now there are no conferences. People are social distancing. They can't make money off of their relationship the way they could before. So it seems kind of like, okay, well, we've suffered through each other long enough, and now that it's not even profitable, let's just end this. That's what some people are thinking, and I definitely think there's some credence in that. Here we go. Here's one that a lot of people have been talking about, and I think this one makes a lot of sense too. Maybe they saw a business opportunity to appeal to people trying to co-parent while divorced. I'm currently happily married, and this is super disappointing as I'm no longer their target audience. I loved them together. Any recommendations on a woman and couple successfully making it all work? So I think this point about they saw a business opportunity for people who co-parent while divorced. A lot of people have been bringing this point up. Like, how long is it going to be until your book comes out about how to survive your divorce together? How long until you start selling courses on how to be successful co-parents when you're not married? How long until that? Right? So some people have been theorizing that they finally saw right now as the opportune business time to finally have the divorce happen so that now they can make money off of that. They might have realized that the marriage advice, the empty marriage platitudes were starting to run their course, and now they can make more money off of something new. That's an idea. I've even seen some people in Instagram comments taking it a step further and saying that maybe the two of them decided to fake their divorce. I think this one's taking it a little too far, but there have been some people saying that they think the divorce isn't going to be real, that they're going to be divorced until the quarantine's over, and then when they can have conferences again and that kind of thing, they will turn it into, again, one of those toxic positivity narratives. This was a struggle that I overcame, that they will turn it into a narrative of our relationship went through the biggest struggle that a relationship can possibly go through, which is divorce. We actually fully ended it. But now we're back together because, as it turns out, our love was strong enough, and here's the things we did to get ourselves back together. Like, some people are thinking that they might snag that opportunity. I think that that's a little far. I think it's a big risk to take to alienate this much of your audience by getting divorced and making them feel scammed and lied to. So I feel like that would be kind of a useless idea. So I don't think they're doing that, but some people think maybe they are, which, again, they're pretty big opportunists, so it's entirely possible. This person says, I have a feeling they'll make this profitable as well. They will be the best two co-parents social media has ever seen. Rise Together will turn into a co-parenting advice podcast. I am divorced and I have to co-parent with my ex. It sucks, and I feel for them, but it does now feel that so much was fake to make some money. They didn't owe it to us to say they were having problems, but at the same time, they didn't have to put on the act of world's best couple if they were struggling in their marriage so much that it has now led to divorce. Just think how many women took her words as gospel and probably felt bad for themselves because their own marriage didn't look as good or fun as theirs. So a lot of people are like, they're gonna capitalize on this. When is the How I Got Through My Divorce book coming? Because it's coming. So Rachel Hollis posted on Facebook on May 24th a picture of the book Untamed. So Untamed is a new, memoir self-help type of thing that came out from Glennon Doyle. She said, I'm in love with this book. I'm halfway through and pausing only long enough to tell you to stop everything you're doing and buy it and read it and cry and laugh and allow it to make you think. Glennon Doyle's new book Untamed is like if Girls Stop Apologizing had a wiser, cooler, more thoughtful best friend. This conversation about women and how we're raised to fit neatly inside of someone else's vision of who we should be is a truth we must keep telling. Let's talk about it so much that our generation begins to fight back against the expectations and put limitations put on us by others. Let's talk about it so much that the next generation never needs books like this at all because it would never occur to them to be anything other than themselves. So here's the million-dollar question. In Rachel's business mission, does she actually want what she says she wants? Does she want us to live in a world where people don't need these kind of books because people already feel comfortable? Is she trying to work towards that world? Or is she helping plant the seeds of insecurity in women so that her industry can continue to thrive? Because it's like when people look at the diet industry, right? The diet industry profits off of people continuing to want to lose weight. So a diet industry does well by having people lose weight in short bursts and be like, oh, this is working, and then gain it back so that they need to come back to the diet company and become reliant on it.
It's also kind of like what cults do.
And that's kind of where Rachel comes in the self-help kind of industry. She's over here like, I want to live in a world where people don't need books like this, but that would put her entirely out of business. And that's why I think her book tends to capitalize on those insecurities that women have, because while it's telling us we should get over those insecurities, it's also reminding us that they exist. Most of the insecurities that Rachel talks about, I was blissfully unaware even existed. In her speech at the doTERRA conference, when she talked about imagine what the voice in your head sounds like, I thought about it, and my voice in my head is actually very encouraging. It always tells me to remember the reasons why I started my business. It always reminds me of what I'm passionate about and why I should keep my confidence. Rachel's voice in her head and the voice in her head that she was trying to, relate to other women on the basis of was a voice saying, you're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough, you're not a good enough mom, whatever. I don't usually feel that way about myself. So the fact that she's trying to say that those things are a regular part of the culture of being a woman implies that by not having those insecurities, I'm different from other women, which I don't think is true. I think she's planting those seeds into other women's heads. They remind you that these insecurities are out there and exist, and say that they're doing it in the context of helping you get over them, but you never said it was a problem in the first place. It's like the diet industry coming back for more. Now, let's talk about Glennon Doyle. I don't know much about Glennon Doyle. I haven't read her book, so I can't review it, but from what I've heard about this book, Glennon Doyle's book Untamed tells the story of how Glennon gained the self-confidence to leave a marriage that wasn't working for her and then ended up with another woman. So now I am going to share with you guys some information that I received from someone who knows Rachel and Dave personally. I'm not going to say how this person knows them. I'm not going to say what connection they have, and I will be only reading the parts of the messages that give away no identifying information about the way that this person knew them or anything like that. But I am going to read what this person's thoughts are on their divorce, because I think they probably know a lot more about what happened than we do, even though they don't entirely know what happened either, so it is still somewhat conjecture on their part. But I figured I'd share it with you guys anyway, since they were so kind as to share it with me. People feel like they have been inauthentic when Dave says they've been contemplating getting divorced for the past 3 years. And in the past 3 years, Girl Wash Your Face has come out, now Girl Stop Apologizing has come out, and Get Out of Your Own Way has come out, and then each of the 3 books, both Dave and Rachel, specifically talk about their marriage and the relationship or sex life, etc. So people are very upset that they've been inauthentic and not honest. This person then goes on to mention, also Rachel demoted Dave from the CEO title back in February, because when Rachel and Dave first formed Hollis Company, Dave was originally the CEO and Rachel was like another chief position, but then she decided she wanted to be the CEO and not him. So that's what happens. This person's saying she is currently the CEO, not Dave. And then now this person adds, a lot of people are saying because she just read Untamed by Glennon Doyle that she now feels liberated to leave Dave. It's about Glennon leaving her husband, realizing she was gay, marrying a woman, and her family and business and career survived. But then, because I was all like, yeah, Rachel felt liberated to leave Dave. Even though I have a lot of problems with Rachel, I'm still going to root for the best for her, because I've been saying all along, Dave's a creep, he's a fuckboy, I fucking hate him. But then, my mind got blown when this person said to me, inside scoop, Dave is definitely the victim here. And I was just like, what? I said, really? How so? And this person said, Dave is a really good guy, even though he's socially awkward. She is a huge nutcase. And I said, I guess based on Rachel's narratives and Girl Wash Your Face, Dave came off as abusive. He seemed to groom her when she was a teenager and he was in his late 20s, but that's my outside perspective. And then this person responded, she dragged him through this. Dave was definitely a dick when he was younger. And then it adds, but she influenced him in a ton of weird ways and forced him to do things he hasn't wanted to do. And then this person adds that Dave did not want this life. So Dave did not want the social media influencer monetizing my entire life. I'm in the spotlight every second of everything I do life, according to this person. I don't know for sure. I can't claim the credibility of this person's claims, but that's what this person's saying. So that's an interesting thing to think about, because I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting that Rachel was like, I'm finally gonna leave Dave's abusive fuckboy ass now that I feel powerful enough in my career as well. That's what I thought was gonna happen. But people are saying, but according to this person, a lot of the problem came from Dave not wanting this type of guru life that Rachel was preaching. And let's be clear, I thought Dave was awful when he was at Disney too. As a hobby, I like to blame Dave for everything I don't like in a Disney movie. The other week, I watched the movie Hollis with Shia LaBeouf. There's this scene where the bus is badly edited. There's the exhaust fumes coming out of the back of the bus that were clearly edited and put there in post because you can see the line where that layer ends and they ended it too far up the screen, and it's a really, really stupid looking mistake. I blame Dave for that. I don't think Dave's ever edited a Disney movie in his life. He was the director of distribution, but you know what?
It's all Dave's fault.
Everything that goes wrong at Disney is Dave's fault. You didn't like the new Star Wars movie that just came out, even though it came out after Dave had already left Disney to work for Hollis Company? Still Dave's fault. So as of right now, that's kind of the gist of everything that's happening in Rachel and Dave's divorce. People are feeling swindled, people are feeling scammed, taken advantage of, and I think this is all kind of a lesson on why monetizing your personal life and your personal relationship isn't going to end well. And let me be clear. I could say, yes, I monetize my personal life in the sense that I'm up on YouTube with my videos, monetizing my journey as a writer and my journey as a business owner. But I'm not here to charge people for courses. I'm not here to charge people for things that I'm not licensed to provide those services. And I think that's where it gets a little shady, where it gets a little bit suspect, right? Where is that line? When is it okay and when is it not? And I think we're seeing that right now. We're kind of seeing the results of somebody taking their personal relationship and their personal life and turning it into their brand. Sometimes people say, you know, don't mix business and pleasure. I personally disagree with that. I'm a lot like Rachel in the sense that the things I love to do are the things that I make money doing. But the people I love will never be the thing I make money doing. To try to sell them on you can achieve my lifestyle, I have always had a problem with that type of industry. And I think now we're seeing how this type of industry can scam and can swindle money from a lot of people. Please let me know what you guys thought about this video in the comments below. I'll see y'all again soon, but in the meantime, don't forget to support small businesses. Happy Monday.